Hello everybody and welcome back to the bass guitar build series. The dust has settled after the last episode and we are now ready to get levelling these frets. Let's get going. Now I'm not going to lie, I've had a bit of a mare this morning, so I double checked the neck again this morning for flatness and I noticed that it still wasn't quite there, it needed a little bit more tweaking. So I got my Allen key, adjusted the truss rod and about a quarter of a turn later, I've sheared the head of it off. Now, am I annoyed at this? Yes, of course. We were so close to the end without making any major mistakes, but yeah, that's quite a good one, that, isn't it? But I'm not too worried about it for the time being because this neck is now flat, so I can level the frets on there. And the thing is, once we apply tension with the strings, it's going to bow this neck up, which to an extent is kind of what you want because it gives the strings clearance over the frets at the bottom here. So once they're on, they're going to pull the neck up like that, which is in the same direction that the truss rods are pulling it as well. So in effect, it's going to be bent too much. Then with this spare truss rod here, I can release the tension on that because that's pretty tight as it is at the moment. And that should kind of help bring the neck into flat again. That's what we're hoping. We're gonna go ahead with it. I mean, worst comes to worst, what I'm left with is either a guitar with a really high action. The action is the height of the strings from the neck, or I might get a bit of fret buzz here and there if I'm not able to get it flat. But if it is a real problem, as much as I don't want to do it, I can replane off this fretboard and refret it and everything. I don't have to remake the entire guitar, which is relieving. It just means I've got to replace the ebony. Not ideal, but at the end of the day, we've spent this much time on the body and everything. Planing off the fretboard is not a lot of hassle in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, cock-ups aside, we're going to level these frets. Now you see that I've remasked the fretboard on here because I was checking it for flat, and I've used a slightly thicker masking tape because I was worried that that thin pink stuff wasn't going to protect it against the files and all that. So I had questions earlier on in the series about what this file is. It's sold by Crimson Custom Guitars, just, yeah, file glued onto the bottom of the handle. I didn't realise, but look, it's half the shape of an acoustic guitar. Genius. But yeah, we're going to level the frets. Now, this is probably the most tedious part of the entire project. You need to recontour all of these frets because the flat top left by this file isn't ideal. So the aim of this is to round them over and leave the tiniest flat spot on top so that you know all of the peaks are exactly the same. It's just they're curved up until that point. Yeah, it's rather precision work. I've got a file here. It has no teeth on either side of it and one of the edges is slightly rounded. So that rounded edge I can put against the fretboard without risk of digging into it with the corner of the file. Just need to make sure I always have that side down. Again, this is made by Crimson Guitars. It's one from quite a few years ago. I'm pretty sure they've made the design a little bit more nicer now, because while it works, the handle on this is kind of just a bit minging. But anyway, here we go. Right, so they're all crowned with the file. And now I need to work on cleaning them up because they're looking a little bit rough at the moment. So I've got some 400 grit wet and dry paper here, which I'm just going to use dry. And I've got these micro mesh pads here, which go up to, is it 15,000 grit? Sorry, 12,000 grit, not quite that high. These are mainly for pen making and things like that when you're working with acrylics, but I found that they worked very well for this purpose. So a bit of 400 grit and then, yeah, just rub over them. I'm stopping the sanding a bit prematurely because I forgot to round over the edges of the frets first because there's still some sort of sharp corners on there, so when you're sliding your hand up, it's just gonna slice it all up. So again, I'm gonna carefully use the safe side of the file to sort of wrap around the bottom of the fret and yeah, give it a nice little round over. my hands are so tender after that. Just got blisters everywhere. So the frets are all shiny, level, and yeah, they feel pretty nice. So now we're going to install the nut, which, thank you for reminding me, is up here. So firstly, we're going to install our black line of inlay. Do you remember it was inlay? Drops of super glue. I feel like I could probably just snip that off with these. And then for the nut, this is such a tight fit as it is, I don't think I'm going to glue this in, just in case there's any issues further on down the line. Like, yeah, I'm going to have to get that with a cramp, I think. So I've got my string locations marked. Ow, just lean on a knife. That was silly of me. I've got my string locations marked out on the nut, and I'm not going to cut them to their final depth or anything now. I'm just going to put a triangular slot in each of them because I'll be refining them later, but you'll see why I'm putting this slot here for the time being. Now, miraculously, while I was at home, I found, where is it? A 9.5mm drill bit, which is exactly the size that I need for the string anchors. So we're going to drill those out real quick. Okay, so obviously I need to file down this nut in order to make this string sit in there properly. The reason I've put all these other ones is because when I'm filing this slot, for example, I can move it over and lock it into that position. So then I can work on this one without having to unstring it and, you know, just go back and forth with it. It's a lot easier if you've got somewhere to move the string across to. Although my main problem at the moment is the bridge is too high for the fretboard, which is a side effect of me accidentally making this fretboard too thin, like right at the start of the build. So I've got a couple of ways I can fix this. I can either file down that saddle where the string's resting on and hope that it lowers it enough to get it close to the fretboard, or I could just lower the height of the entire bridge itself. So I think I'm going to try out the first method first, which is filing down the saddle itself, because lowering that entire bridge is just a bit of a ball ache, to be honest, and I think I could get away with it still if I just file this saddle down. So I've been going at it a while now, and I've got the string low enough, which is a massive help. I don't have to reduce the height of the bridge or anything. So again, according to this book, it says that when you fret at the 3rd fret, the string should just about clear the 1st fret, which it is. So that means that I've cut the nut slot at the right height. It shouldn't foul with it or anything like that. It should just go over it. Also, it's not too difficult to play at the 1st fret. I might reduce it a little bit. Is there too much force for that? No, I think that would probably be okay actually. It doesn't seem to be, you don't seem to need excessive force to press that down. It's pretty easy. And that, guys, is all I'm going to show you of the guitar for now, because what I haven't said is I am actually on holiday next week, which is why I've been doing 12-hour days to try and get this thing finished, which has been pretty stressful. I haven't done it in time, so what we're going to do is do something similar to what I used to do in my very first series on YouTube, which was making the curved cabinet, making the Krenov cabinet, and making this workbench actually. After I've gone through the entire process of building it, we're going to do a big overview video at the end, which basically highlights all of the best bits of our journey together making this bass guitar. And at the very end, you will see it plugged in, finished, and hopefully be making some noise on it. So be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and don't forget to turn on notifications for YouTube to get notified as soon as that video is uploaded. It should be a good one, and I mean, this isn't even tuned or plugged in at the moment, but it is already sounding and looking amazing. So that'll be out in about a week and a half's time from when this video is going to be uploaded. So I will see you then.